I was 7 years old the last time I had a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. It was one of those off-brand locations that didn't look quite like the commercials. Store 584, according to a faded receipt I found years later. My mom used to keep things like that tucked in her scrapbooks as keepsakes. The store was located in a half-dead shopping strip between an old carpet outlet and a furniture liquidator. It was pretty much completely empty aside from the lanky janitor guy, who repeatedly kept trying to mop right next to us. I remember the air inside smelled like processed pizza and the carpets had that weird gritty texture that stuck to your socks. But none of that was what really stayed with me. What's really burned into my mind is what was on the TV up behind the animatronic band. It was embedded in the wall of the Studio C set. The TV was an old CRT with big buttons and a red power light that never turned off. At first I thought it just felt like background. Some show or cartoon I didn't recognize. But then it cut to a black and white screen that said, CEC-TV presents. No music, no animation, just that screen and a loud ticking sound. Like a kitchen timer counting down. Then the screen changed. It showed a Pasquale mascot sitting in a child-sized chair. It was one of those walk-around mascots from that era, only it kind of looked off, as if it was some kind of knockoff costume. His eyes were also oversized and bulging out, like the skin around them had been worn back. He didn't move, just sat there, breathing and staring at the screen. I remember looking around the place and being the only one watching. The footage held on him for a long time, long enough for my stomach to turn. Then it cut again. The camera was moving now, handheld and unsteady, following behind a woman. She moved cautiously through dim alleyways, her keys clinking with each step. Her breathing was audible, as the camera's POV just followed from a distance, stopped when she stopped, ducked behind something if she ever turned around. The longer I watched, the more the dread built in me. Even watching it as a kid, I knew something was off. And then, just when it looked like she was about to open a door and go inside, she froze. The camera started to surge toward her quickly, and right before it reached her, the segment cut out. A title card appeared, and then showed Chuck E. Cheese dressed as a news anchor in a different segment. I remember pulling on my mom's sleeve and whispering that I didn't like the movie that was on the screen. She smiled like I was being dramatic and said, "It's just part of the show, honey. They play silly videos during the breaks." Although I could tell she hadn't been paying attention. It didn't feel like a show, and definitely wasn't silly. I didn't really say anything else about it after that day. I guess I didn't really understand what had happened, but I never forgot it. Years passed. I grew up, got jobs, relationships, distractions. But to be honest, I never felt quite normal since then. I couldn't explain what I saw to anyone without sounding crazy. It was like my childhood got stuck, like a part of me never moved forward from that room. I had recurring dreams of blank TV screens that suddenly blinked to life. I'd be standing in a dark space, unable to move, watching as the Pasquale costume sat in silence, turning slowly towards me. I'd wake up sweating, heart pounding. No one took it seriously. One therapist told me I had unresolved trauma and should journal. But deep down, I always knew things like that just weren't going to be enough. One day I went home to help my mom clean out her garage. She handed me one of her old scrapbooks, yellowing and falling apart at the edges. "You can throw this out unless you want to keep anything." Inside was a birthday Polaroid of me at a long plastic table with confetti and balloons. I looked half asleep. Next to it, tucked in a sleeve, was the receipt. Chuck E. Cheese, Store 584, March 21st, 1999. My mouth went dry. I stared at the receipt, knowing that it was the day I had seen that video. Remembering it after so long felt like waking up from a dream and realizing you brought part of it back with you. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about the CEC-TV segment. I tried to find it online. I searched YouTube for show tapes from the late 90s. There were plenty of full band performances, birthday songs, commercials, you name it. But nothing matched what I remembered. No loud ticking sound, no videos of unmoving mascots, or POVs chasing women down alleyways. I even found old Pasquale TV segments, archived by collectors, but none were the right one. I found a thread full of people sharing memories of dead malls and childhood pizza joints. Most of it was standard nostalgia, but buried in one of the older posts was a single comment that made the hairs perk up on the back of my neck. Dude, I remember that CEC in the mall. There was always this weird-ass janitor hanging out around the stage. Creeped me out. Pretty sure it's a dentist office now. I messaged the account immediately, asked what they remembered, but got no reply. I decided at that point I had to go back. After a little more research, I found it. Store 584 was still standing, but it wasn't the same. The sign now read, Bright Smiles Pediatric Dental. I pulled into the parking lot and just sat there for a while, staring at the building. The structure hadn't been altered too much. The weird sloped roof was still there and everything. I casually walked in and told the receptionist I was a freelance writer, researching the history of local businesses. She told me they'd moved into the building in 2001, but that it was in fact a Chuck E. Cheese before. She said there wasn't much from the original building still there, except for this weird little door in the back office they'd never unlocked. She offered to try and open it with the master key if I came back later. Very interested, I returned at close that day. As she took me to the back, I could tell the walls still had faint images from old kid-friendly wallpaper that had been painted over. At the end of the corridor inside the back office was a door barely 4 feet high. She unlocked it with a little grunt and clicked on the light. The room was padded, not with foam exactly, but with old acoustic tiles, half rotted and drooping. The air smelled like mildew and old carpet glue, and near the floor, half buried behind a bucket and an old broom and mop, was a dusty cardboard box. Inside it were old show schedules, some party hats, and at the very bottom, a few high-8 videotapes in clear plastic shells. No labels, just pieces of masking tape on the side with something smudged, maybe numbers, couldn't tell. In case you're not familiar, high-8 tapes can only be played on certain old cameras, so I asked if I could take the stuff back to my place and watch them. The receptionist gladly obliged, as long as I brought it back the next day. She was worried the owner of the building might want to claim it. I borrowed a high-8 camcorder from my dad and played the tapes on my TV. Most of them were just standard show tapes from CEC-TV. Then on the last one, I heard it. Pasquale again, sitting in that child-sized chair, still watching, breathing. The video held just long enough for that familiar unease to rise to my chest. Then, the woman from all those years ago, with the clinking keys. Finally, I watched as she turned, sensing something behind her. Then the camera rushed toward her, and the screen went to black. And I immediately decided I needed to show it to the police, who were very intrigued once I did bring it in. Nothing much happened for a few months after that, but then all of a sudden there was a break in the case. I was called by one of the detectives and informed that the woman in the video fit the description of a missing woman from that era. They decided to go search the building where the tape was found and asked if I would come along. Sure enough, when we were looking through the little storage room, they discovered that a fake cinder block wall had been built in the back of the little room. After demolishing it, they discovered human remains inside. It was the woman from the video. The investigation into the man who filmed the video is still ongoing, but if you ask me, the creepy janitor would be the main guy I'd look at. What creeps me out about the whole thing is, why would he ever show that tape to the restaurant? I've even been starting to wonder, maybe it wasn't the person filming at all. Maybe it was the victim. And somehow, getting the tape on that screen was her last attempt to catch the killer. Hopefully, after 30 years, it finally worked.